this is definitely, I'm going to share a lot of information with you, but it is definitely a forum for you to get an opportunity to ask questions. I love being put on the spot, so that I'm happy to answer everything right here and now. And let me see. Are we seeing my screen right now?
Yes, it comes
Wonderful.
in clear and perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. So this is not my first time joining the Realty 411 community. So I had to come up with something a little different than maybe I've done in the past. And I wanted to help those of you that are watching this either live or on the replay really get together a plan so that whether you're just getting started in real estate investing or you're already deep into it, I wanted to get together a plan to sometimes reset even when we've gotten started. And this plan is going to really help you to level up your game. It's 30 days. Nechelle, what am I going to get done in 30 days? If you set up your first 30 days in the right way, everything else becomes so much easier to do. And so the 30-day setup is really what allows you to level up your real estate investing game. So I'm going to delve in just a little bit because Linda did a fabulous job introducing me. But Influence Living, we are a global social impact, development, investment, and education firm. Our team is in 4 different countries across 6 different time zones, all working really hard to bring great real estate projects to the market, but also to help our investors make money and to help our students learn how to take everything that they're doing again to the next level. And our education is deal-based and an apprenticeship model. So a lot of times we attend education, we read a book, we take a course, and we learn the how. But there is a big difference between the theory and actually putting that into real world practice. And honestly, it's like the only industry I know of where we give all of this education, but then there's no one to walk you through it. I mean, think about it. If you were a doctor, right? You get you're past the medical boards and you're ready to start practicing. They do not allow you to start heart surgery, right? Like on your first day, like I don't even think you get to start on your first year without being under the guise and the guidance of an actually experienced doctor in whatever that field is. That's the same thing with real estate investing. We need to ensure that you get the education, but you're also working with an experienced team of investors to actually put that education into practice. Now, myself, I don't always go long into my own story, but I have been asked to just delve a little bit into that. I am born and raised in New York City, in Spanish Harlem specifically, and I went to University of Pennsylvania in Philly. Very East Coast girl. After returning after school, I met my husband Tony. We will have been together for 29 years in April. In April of this year, I met him, and now we have 6 lovely children, half of which are actually now, almost all of them are in one of our businesses. I run the day-to-day for our real estate investing, and Tony runs our influence marketing and talent management agency. And our kids are involved, all 6 of them, one way or another. So it's really exciting to be able to have a family-based business. My passion for real estate has been long, long lasting. And when I started, I was on first I wanted to find like rental properties for my family. We were a young family and we had no money, right? As all young families start out, right? No money. So I was looking for an opportunity on how I could create this cash flow thing. Yes, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'll date myself a little, but there was a no money down Carlton Sheets infomercial back in the day when there was infomercials and not TikTok shops, right? Which is basically the same as the infomercials that we used to see. And I knew I needed to create this cash flow, but with no money, that was going to be proving to be a little bit difficult, which is why I got that no money down course, right? So I was finally able to identify a market, which happens to be the market that Linda mentioned. We have been investing in the Buffalo, New York area for over 20 years now. And my first property that I contracted there in Buffalo, Tony and I flew up there. Buffalo is about an 8-hour drive from New York, and I really don't want to drive that far. So we took a little quick flight up there and we went and saw a bunch of properties. Now, by that time, even though we were young, we owned our first co-op in New York in Riverdale. And I sent our contract for Buffalo to our New York City lawyer who had closed on our property in New York City. And he's like, we were going to use a local lawyer as well, but I wanted his eyes on it. And he was like, Nechelle, everything looks great. And I was like, okay, great. And he's like, oh, but one thing, I think the down payment or something may have accidentally been put in the purchase price field. And I was like, no, Robert, no, no, that is. At the time, 20 years ago, it was a 3 unit with one tenant in place. Two of the units needed renovation, and the purchase price was $26,500. I'll never forget it. It's probably one of those things I should like take the contract and put it on the wall. $26,500. Needless to say, my lawyer wanted in on whatever I was doing up in Buffalo. So now, fast forward over 20 years later, and Linda, guess what? Buffalo was named the hottest real estate market for 2025 as well. It is the first time that a city has done it back to back since Zillow has been tracking the data. Why is it important that Zillow is naming a market the hottest market? Well, because they have a lot of the data for the entire country. And this is the second year back to back, kind of like a repeat, right, in sports. So, two of the main reasons why that is, I'm going to make you wait a little later for that. You hang in here with me, and I'm going to tell you why Buffalo is such a strong market. Now, when I was on bed rest with my third child, I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. My husband, Tony, had just left working at the music industry, and I was on bed rest. Not much was happening. And I knew with a very young family growing very quickly, having a mortgage, I needed to be able to figure out a way to create more revenue for myself than just buying rental property. And that's when we decided to start working with other investors. And now my journey to starting my real estate investing business, meaning not just using real estate as an asset to make money, but an actual business where I'd be working with other investors, where I would be fixing and flipping properties. That happened on, yeah, eBay. I know. Listen, I think in here, yes, innovative strategists. I'm going to say that was pretty innovative. Yes, I watched the market for a very long time on eBay. I saw that properties were being sold in the Buffalo market. And back then, again, remember the price point was very desirable. The economic growth and development was not there, but I felt confident for many reasons that I will go into that Buffalo had great potential long term. And I was in it for the long game regardless. And so I started doing these auctions on eBay. And Tony was like, girl, come on now. No one is going to buy a property from you in some auction on eBay of all places and actually send you money. That's what he thought. But now you'll get a chance to kind of see how I roll. And I was like, game on. I'm going to prove him wrong. And so I went, got me a little property. I had to put $1,000 in earnest money deposit down so that I could control the contract. And I put up my auction, my photos, and my description. Took a deep breath and I hit, live, go live. And it was live. And that first auction happened. Someone won it. I need to look back in our evening. I don't even know if it goes back that far, but I need to look back and see what was that very first property that sold. Needless to say, I sent them wire information and they sent us money. Yes. Now, something I'm going to go into has to do with mindset and fearlessness. There was no reason to believe that this could all work out for me, but it did because I was fearless and I was willing to try something. And that something proved to be quite lucrative for us. that first year, I want to say we did maybe 200 transactions. Not everything was on eBay. I utilized and leveraged eBay to build a buyer's list of actual buyers. So I contacted all of the people during the auctions who were actually bidding, and I was building up my list from that. So eventually I came off of eBay and I was just sending out deals to my list. And things were really good there. And that was before the 2008 crash. And at that time, what ended up happening was I would sit down and watch Oprah. Yeah, that was Oprah days. I would sit and watch Oprah at 4 o'clock faithfully and see what was happening with Oprah. And Tony would say, "Hey, we need some money." And I'd say, "Oh, okay." And I'd go on the MLS, which today 50% or more of our properties still come from the MLS. I know everybody tells you off market, off market. MLS, it's where it all starts. It's the gateway to the off markets and it's the gateway to deals. So here I am going on, I find properties, I get them under contract, I send out our team, they take pictures, home inspections, appraisals, everything. I run the numbers and I send it out to my list. The properties sell within 30 to 60 days, they close, and I get back then it was still a wire. I get a wire sent to my account and I never left the couch. That's the way to do things. Okay. So I don't want a job. I don't want to go see properties, me personally. I want to be sitting on my couch and I want to be making money. So we created that big structure. And of course, Tony eventually became my biggest cheerleader for sure. But that was something that allowed us to understand the market and understand what not only did we as investors need, but what other investors needed as well. And a lot of times, everyone needs someone to believe in them before they can believe in themselves. And that's whether you're doing your first deal and you've got the naysayers in your family, like, what do you know about real estate? Or you're already in real estate, but you're not quite where you want to be in terms of doing deals because you see all of these success stories that people have, and you're like, I know I must be as smart as them. I feel like I should be able to do this, and something's keeping you from going forward. A lot of that has to do, one, with the apprenticeship concept of working with experienced investors, whether it's in beginning or to level up or to enter into a new market. And the other thing is having someone believe in you. Super important to be able to have. So for me, that was the story that ended up in Think Big and Kick Ass and Business and Life. And it was something they actually, funny story, they had closed the book. And when they heard our story, they were like, okay, we're going to open that back up, the book. They had closed, it was going to go to publishing. They opened it back up to include us. And I think it's a great story, not just because it's kind of funny that I was selling properties on eBay, which you can't do anymore, right? So that's why you need an apprenticeship with active investors because you can't do that anymore. But back then, it was that I was also a mother and I was also on bed rest. And I also had no experience in real estate prior to that. I thought I would go into medicine. There were all of these things. I was a little girl from the public housing projects in Spanish Harlem. There were all of these things that were stacked against me. And remember, I was on bed rest. So that's kind of like a medical condition, right? I don't take having children or pregnancy as a medical condition, but had some complications. So I'm there. And despite all of that, I was able to build an international real estate investment business that eventually came to be Influence Living. And so that's the thing that if you get nothing out of today, you're going to get a lot out of today. But one of the most important things for you to get out of today is, regardless of what your circumstances are, when you have someone to believe in you, and whether that's you find a community like Realty 411, or you join an investment group, or you take a course, or you join the Grow Collective, whatever it is that you do, you have to find your village. And it takes a village for sure. And when you do that, anything is possible, no matter where you came from, what school you went to, if you went to college or not, whether you have a medical condition, All of that is not going to stop what you're doing. And people always ask me, Nechelle, how do you do it all? How do you have 6 kids? Your husband's running a business, you're running a business. You guys are always expanding. You're in different countries. I'm joining you right now from San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, which is the heart of Mexico, known as El Corazón de Mexico. It's to San Miguel is to Mexico City as the Hamptons is to New York City, right? A lot of wealthy Mexicans have their weekend and vacation homes here in San Miguel. So it's this lovely protected community. It's a UNESCO World Heritage town. It's amazing. Love it here. I've been here for over a year, working on some exciting real estate projects here as well, which I'll come back and talk about another time. But regardless of all of those circumstances, you can do this. This is within your reach. And this 30-day plan is going to get you set up and ready in order to execute on that. Now, here's your 30-day plan to level up. I'm going to leave these slides nice and clean so you can focus on the most important things. Day 1 through 9. Take stock of what matters. You need to determine what's your why, your goals, and your how you're going to get it done. For me, my why is personal and goes beyond to what I feel my purpose and my passion is. Definitely having 6 kids, and I do have a special needs child who will certainly need a bigger trust fund than everyone else and will need additional assistance for the rest of her life. And for that, having and building generational wealth is extremely important to me. The thought of not leaving behind resources and assets for my children and their children's children just doesn't sit very well with me. So I'm very focused on making sure that I am leaving behind something for them to get a leg up when they're out there on their own. And that does not mean to spoil them necessarily. I'm not opposed to spoiling, but preparing them to be um, great members of society is extremely important, and to not have to worry about finances and money so that they can contribute with innovation and with what they can give to society is really important for me. My other why, which I feel is more of my purpose, is giving people the opportunity to gather this information and benefit from the same financial freedom that real estate investing has afforded me and my family. With 6 children, I was able to be at every play, every award ceremony, to volunteer in class, to stay home with my children when they were sick, whether I was working at home at the time or if I had an actual office. All of those things extremely, extremely important. And I was able to do that. So you need you need some days, right? You need to think about what actually is your why. Is it so that you can leave the job that you hate? Is it so that you can leave something behind, even if you don't have children, to your nieces or your nephews, or to your sisters or your brothers, or to retire your parents? What is your why? Does it go beyond that? You know, a lot of times investors will say, Nechelle, I don't need a lot of money. I'm good. I don't need a lot of stuff. Great. I want you to have options, right? And that's part of our goals. What are your goals? If you don't need a lot of money, but you want to give back, then I want you to have a lot of money to give back with. I don't care if you live off of 20% of your income, what you make from real estate investing, give away the other 80%. But you've got to have the options, and money gives you options. It gives you the option of where to live. It gives you the option where to send your kids to school, where to vacation, what car to buy, what clothes to wear. Does not mean you need designer this or designer that. It just means you have the option to do so. You can work because you want to and not because you have to. That's just so key and crucial. Very few people love their job, unfortunately. I love what I do, but very few people do. And so the opportunity to be able to work in a job you love and not because you have to is so key to a happy life. And maybe the job you want to do doesn't pay well, but you can now do it because you have built up this real estate investing and it's made a difference for you. And you have to write down your goals. Say I want to make more money. The universe has no idea what to do with that. And it's just like, oh, okay, let me give you 5 more cents. You made more money. That's not enough money. You need way, way more money than that, right? So you want to be very specific about actually how much money you are making. Okay. That is key. Write it down. How are you going to figure that, Nechelle? How am I going to figure this out? I don't know. A lot of money just sounds good. Know your budget. I'm like, I think Dave Ramsey would be like rolling around in his bed. He's not in his grave. So in his bed, he's going to be rolling around right now. I believe in living within your means, but I believe in raising your means up so that you could live how you want to live, right? Don't overspend. Don't go on vacation in lieu of paying your mortgage. But if you want to go on vacation and pay your mortgage, you've got to figure out how to raise your means so that the means you're living under does not require a lot of lack. I feel like there's much power in words, of course, and the saying, what you focus on grows, right? And if you focus on taking away your lattes from Starbucks or taking away your facials or getting your eyelashes done, that's a focus on lack. And that's not a path to gaining wealth. You want to focus on more, to abundance, and doing that will align your goals and make your goals. There's a book. I'm going to give you a lot of books today. There's a book, um, From Good to Great, Built to Last, one of them. It's about BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. And you need to have those goals because the saying is something, guys, listen, I'm not going to be really good at my sayings. I give you the version of my sayings because there's limited filing space up in here. And so I'm very particular about what I put in there, as you should be as well. Put everything I'm talking about today, put it in there. But I'm going to get my sayings a little off. So if you want to give me the actual saying, feel free to put it in the chat. But there's something like reach for the universe or something, and you'll reach for the moon. And if you fall short, you'll still be amongst the stars, something like that. Definitely set yourself up with these big goals, because if you fall short, you are still going to be so much further ahead of all of the people who never did anything. Okay. So very important to make sure you understand your goals and then your how. There are a gazillion ways in order to make money in real estate investing, and you have to decide what is the one specifically for you. And I can tell you, this is the most lucrative space to be in. And if you don't want to get up every day and be in that space, it won't matter that it's the most lucrative space to be in. I've been a serial entrepreneur for pretty much all my life. My first business was at 9. It was a nonprofit called ANTS. I didn't even know what an acronym was at that time, but ANTS was an acronym. It stood for Animals Need to Survive. And I had decided, because, I'm like a bleeding heart, I'm going to save all of the animals in New York City. And I started this non-for-profit, and we went around knocking on the doors and raising money so that we could put on this festival, this little carnival. It was a little carnival where we went to the store and bought these like carnival sort of games so that we could raise money and help the animals that needed help. Ants. This is why I picked ants without knowing the acronym thing, because they were these tiny little things, and they carry like these huge giant, I don't know what the actual number is. Put it in the chat if you know, like 1,000 times their weight. And that was us. We were these young kids who were going to carry the heavy weight of saving animals and who were in need. I know. I was a lot of extra. I'm still a lot of extra in a good way. So here we are. I knew that you know that you need to figure out what you want to do, no matter how much someone else says. You need to be in wholesaling. You need to be in pre-foreclosures. I can tell you from personally, I don't want to do pre-foreclosures. Remember, I'm the one at 9 trying to help the animals, right? I would be saying, ooh, this isn't a deal, but I cannot have you out here in these streets. Let me give you money anyway, right? That's not going to make a good business. It's not going to do very well. It's too much for me. I don't like doing that. I don't like all of the struggle and the stress. And I also don't like, I take the path of least resistance, always take the path of least resistance. And that's why still 50% of our deals come from the MLS, because I don't want to have to convince someone to sell. I just want to convince them that the deal I'm offering is one that they want. And guess what? On the MLS, everybody wants to sell. You don't convince anyone. Path of least resistance. Get on the MLS. If you get the opportunity to join the Grow Collective, take any one of our courses. We go into all of the keywords that we actually ourselves use in order to find deals on the MLS and go into why it's the gateway to these elusive off-market deals that everyone tells you is the key to your success. I'm here to tell you it's not. Okay, you can make deals without ever leaving the MLS, but building relationships there are going to get you the opportunity to get to off market deals. Now, day 10 to 19 is pregame. Okay. Now, this, if anyone's on here young or if you have Gen Z children, pregame, I realize is, for us, I don't sports maybe, but for them it's pregame, like you get together and you have drinks before you go to the club. I'm not sure why you need to to get started for that, but there is something about priming the pump. So we are going to prime the pump in day 10 to 19. Education, resources, and team. You've already like jumped. I know you probably didn't do day one to nine, but you've jumped to 10 to 19 education because you're here today or you're watching the replay. Education is so, so key. You have to understand what you're getting into so that you can remember, pick your how, figure out what it is that you're going to do. But remember this, 95% of real estate investing has nothing to do with real estate investing. There are so many other components that will make you successful in real estate investing. And I'm going to give you a couple of more books. The One Thing. What is the one thing that you can do right now today so that everything else is easier or unnecessary? When you can implement something like that in your day-to-day execution of real estate investing, it's going to change your productivity. That's really, really important, a really important book, The One Thing. Um, I have a bunch. I'm gonna literally look. I'm a big reader, guys. So like if you do TikTok, I know I'm referencing a lot of young things, but remember, my husband runs an influencer marketing agency, so we have a lot of stuff. But I'm gonna look because I always keep a lot of books by my little desk, and I'm gonna see. I know I'm disappearing, y'all. I'm coming back. Don't worry. What else I have? Okay. Ooh, Atomic Habits. That's a really good one. Look, we are so distracted by so many different things with social media and children and work and health and biohacking. Like, there's just so much information. It's an overload. Atomic Habits, it is a great book for you to be able to figure out how to get used to doing things that you want to. It always boggles my mind. Like, I know I really want something, and then I can't seem to figure out, get myself to do it. Working out is something I do not care for, and I've been training 5 days a week with the official trainer of the Mexico City Marathons. Shout out to Frank Endurance. So that took me literally 50 years. Yeah, I'm 50, guys. I'm 50 years old, turned 50 last year, and it took me until right before my 50th because I was trying to get into, like my best girlish figure I could. Yes, I got into it. If I had read Atomic Habits, I think like before that, I might have been able to get that sooner. These are like the tools that you have that are going to be really necessary to reaching your business. I'm going to give you one more book. This is like, if you get no other book, if you're not a reader and you read nothing else in your life, you must read The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. I got chills. Okay, this book will change your life. This book will change your life. Okay, as a business owner, it's crucial. It's the foundation for anything. You're here for real estate investing, but you also run an influencer marketing agency. I don't care what your business is. You're a masseuse, you have a spa, you have a car parts business. Read the E-Myth Revisited. It will change your life. Books are resources for sure. Education gives you resources, right? Tells you the things to read, the platforms to get, and the MLS is a resource. I'm not going to have you pay for anything. There's no VAs, there's no lists, there's nothing. Know your resources. You've got to put together your resources, and you will find out what resources you need by your education, watching videos on Realty 411, other books, other resources. I don't even think, let me think. I don't think I have a real estate investing book to give you. I don't have one. I have every other book that's going to prepare you to be successful, but real estate investing is not it because you need all of these other things, like the actual fix and flip. There's enough like spreadsheets and tools and calculators for that stuff. But if you can't get your why, um, if you can't get your goals down, if you can't get what you're going to do, like I want to help people, then you might want to do pre-foreclosures. I want the passive least resistance, or I don't have a lot of assets or cash or money to invest, then you might want to do bird dogging or wholesaling. You've got to have all of these things figured out. And a lot of the books that I'm going to give you peppered throughout this, it's kind of like book talk. I'm going to give you a bunch of books peppered throughout today, and they're going to help you build the foundation you need for success. I think I was saying, someone always asks, Nechelle, how do you do this? How do you do this? It doesn't matter. I have the same fears. I have the same anxiety, the same worries. I have all of the same things that you have. I have the same naysayers. I have the same supportive people. I have everything that you guys have. In spite of that, right? Like in spite of anything that could be in my way, I execute, sometimes not as well as I'd like to, which is why I'm reading all the books, but I execute regardless. And that's what you have to do. No matter what is standing in your way, you have to move forward regardless. I have this saying, I have lots of sayings too for you, but I have this saying that you can't move forward by stopping. Like, oh, I need to do this, but I've got to stop something in order to get that, right? I've got to stop buying my Starbucks. Got to stop doing this, doing that. You can't move forward by stopping. It's like so logical, but a lot of people stop doing things in order to try to get ahead. And you've got to keep pushing forward. You can do that with the resources and the education that you take and the team that you build. And I will talk a little bit more about your real estate investing team, but you have to know where to stay in your lane. This is me right here. I'm very good at doing the presentations, talking to investors, strategizing, come very creative. I come up with concepts on our real estate development projects. Do not ask Nechelle to create 50 spreadsheets analyzing properties. That's not my thing. I don't want to do that. You have to know where your superpowers are and you have to stay in your lane. Okay. And so building your team, you build it around yourself. And this is the same in any business. Build it around yourself. And you build people who may love to negotiate, build people around you who love to look at the spreadsheets or who are really great at data entry. My husband, Tony, is so great at the behind the scenes day-to-day administration. That's not me. So you're either going to partner with other people, join communities where you can come together in partnership, get an actual partner, figure out what your life partner can offer. Again, remember I mentioned a lot of my children are involved in one or the other business. I have a 10-year-old, so I know you're like, Nechelle, how's your 10-year-old involved? Let me tell you, despite the fact what he knows, I feel like he knows what his mother does because he sees me doing it all the time. He comes up to me one day and he's like, Mom, look at this TikTok. Actually, it wasn't even a TikTok. It was a YouTube Shorts because he's a YouTube kind of watcher. Everyone has their preference. He's a YouTube watcher. So he brings me a YouTube Shorts and it's some guy talking about, I can't even remember what it was, but it was something about real estate. Like if you buy this and by the time you're 30, you'll have this. And my son Ryder is like, oh, I want to do that. And I'm like, you do know that's what your parents do. Okay, that's okay. However, he gets the information. So now he will get a property this year for his trust fund, and he will get to be involved in the picking of it because he's interested. And I know you're like, Nechelle, here you are talking trust funds. Remember, I'm from the New York City housing projects. There was no trust fund there, there was welfare there. Okay, so That is what real estate investing can get you to the point where you're thinking about or planning or filling trust funds for your children. Okay. So he's going to get that opportunity. Extremely important. Now, the team, back to our team, it needs to just compose of the things that you're not good at so that you have a cohesive group moving you forward, leveraging the education and the resources you've gotten in order to reach the same goal. You all must align with that. But remember, if you didn't do day 1 through 9, you don't even know what your goals are. Okay. And you don't know who you need because you haven't figured out like how you're going to get it done. So these are really important things to make sure that you have. Day 20 to 30, the deal making. These are like the basics of what we do in all of the Grow Collective education courses. And it is the market, the method, the reward. You have to identify your market. It's extremely important. And I'm going to delve into the market, the Buffalo, New York, Niagara Falls, Erie County market, and show you how it's actually done. The market, the method, the reward. The market, it can't be the one you went to school in. It can't be your backyard necessarily, unless you live in Buffalo. It has to be a market that has economic growth and development, that is investor friendly, that has enough properties. You need an abundance of properties. You have to build a foundation, right? You can do development like we're doing here in Mexico, but I couldn't do development in Mexico until I had that what we call our bread and butter investment money. Until I had our cash flow. In order to identify a market that lets you do whatever you want to do, you got to find a market that can give you an abundance of deals. And I still don't know really the reason why, but like Ohio is very popping. I have a lot of students who want to do Ohio. We have partnerships there. Detroit, when we've invested in Detroit and Cleveland, like in all of those markets. And I think for our benefit, like everybody's not like Buffalo, Buffalo. But in the real estate investment groups, it's all about these random other places. And yet remember, Buffalo, hottest market 2024 and 2025. We all know something now because you're on this call. You all know something that most don't know. So while you're at it, make sure you delve into it and get into it and understand. And we'll talk about why Buffalo is a perfect example of the right market. The method, you have to know what the real estate investment method is that best fits the market you picked. Just because you decided you're going to do pre-foreclosures does not mean that the best market is the best market for pre-foreclosures. And Buffalo is a great example of that. Fixing and flipping, whenever you have these affordable markets, which is one of the two reasons I was going to talk about why Zillow named it one of the hottest, not one of the hottest market in 2024 and 25, is because of affordability. When you have very affordable properties, it's a lot harder to buy them low enough in order to put in enough money to have enough a spread to have like a $50,000 return. Do we do fix and flips in Buffalo? Absolutely. But it is by far like this much of the investments we do there. That market is ideal for fixing and keeping and buying and holding. So understanding the best real estate investment market is extremely important. Elena, I am going to go over and I just happen to see the chat real quick. I'm going to go over the books again at the end so that I get through the meat of everything, and then I will get a rundown of all the books that I would love for you guys to read. The reward. This ties into knowing what your goal is, right? And being able to get there because you have the education and the resources and the team in order to make it happen. And that goal could be cash flow. That goal could be increasing the amount of cash you have to do deals. The reward is what those things are, right? You've got to know how the market and the method is going to give you the reward you want. And there's this very happy character that our team put in there. He's very excited. He's like, yes, I got the reward. So these are very important things for you guys to keep in mind. Market, method, and reward. And I'm going to jump into how it's done. Let's get into it. Why Buffalo? Okay, I know I do a little jig for Buffalo. Again, and Linda mentioned, I've been at this for 20 years with this market. And it's just coming together. No, like probably 2017, 15 years. Long game, long game. Could have been the wrong one? Yeah, maybe. But these are the things that I knew kind of that Buffalo was going to work. One, it cash flowed right then and there. There are a lot of people who will tell you future appreciation. I'm California now. California is great for future appreciation. I have no idea what's going to happen. There is no magic 8 ball or whatever the little thing is that you look into. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I make educated guesses on what it's going to hold. And as the second largest city in New York, behind only New York City, and its proximity to Lake Erie and a gazillion bridges over to Canada. I think it's about 2 hours to Toronto. Like all of these things, I felt like it had great promise. A lot of housing stock that needed to be renovated. There was a lot of opportunities where other people saw blight with all of the boarded up homes along the streets. I was like, oh my God, I get an entire block. Yes, I can change around a whole community if I can get the whole block. Those are the things that I knew made it a good market. And again, it was cash flowing. So that we were together. The economic growth and development, there was a lot of talk about what was going to go on, the development of the waterfront, but it really has all started to come together. This lovely slide put together is a rendering of the, at last count, it's always growing, $2.1 billion Buffalo Bills new stadium, great opportunity for jobs if you're working with your hands or if you're in administration or in the sports field. So a lot of job creation, huge financial sector there. M&T Bank's headquartered there, HSBC, Geico, Citibank, they all have some presence there, back office or headquarters. There are over 20 colleges and universities there. It just got the designation to be a part of the semiconductor superhighway. So they're going to be building semiconductor plants there. There's hospitals and medical research. So if you want student housing, check. If you want traveling nurses, check. Short-term rentals, because you're right next to Niagara Falls, New York, check. Just everything. It has everything going on for it. And so dollar for dollar, Buffalo's just, I don't know, I just love that market. Now, Nechelle, do you only invest in Buffalo then? No, I do not. I told y'all I'm in here in Mexico. There is a market and a method for everyone. In California, I'm normally in Calabasas, California, high-end fix and flips. That's the market I do there. That's the method I do in that market. I don't want to hold, the numbers are too high to hold for appreciation. Like who wants to buy a $4 million 4 unit? 8 unit or something and have to be paying out of your pocket for that future appreciation. No, no, I'm going to go for the now. I need to pay bills now. You can't pay your mortgage, telling them, look, hold tight. In 10 years, I got you. That property is going to be worth a lot. No, you got bills today. You got to be prepared to pay today. Cash flow in a market like this, the low cost, it's so affordable. I'm going to show you some 150 to $250,000 2 to 4 units. Okay, when I show you these things, you'll be like, ooh, I get it. I get it. That's one of the second reasons. All of this job creation and economic development, but the affordability, second reason why Zillow named it the hottest real estate market in 2024 and 5. I think when I do this, it just switches right over, right? Everybody seeing my properties, you could say yes in the chat. Okay, let me
Yes,
go for
we see them.
Wonderful. Okay. So this here is a fully rented 4 unit. Two upper units, two lower units, 258,750, a 24% cash on cash return, and a 14.56 cap rate. If you are new to real estate investing, a cap rate of 4 to 6 is standard. People buy that all day. Anything over 10% insane. That's Buffalo. And these are not the great deals I've already done. These are the deals that are available right now. A lot of times you go to webinars and they're talking about how I made all this money on this property, but you can't get that property because I already did it. We make sure we only show you things that you can take advantage of right now. So it's not, I got this amazing almost 15% cap rate. Sorry, you didn't. This is the 15% 4 unit. It's only 258-ish thousand dollars that you can get with a net annual cash flow of over almost $25,000. Let me put something in perspective for you. You're at that job, right? You hate it. You probably do. But it's paying you $100,000, right? You find 4 to 6 of these types of properties, and now you can leave. But if you love it, you can stay, but you don't have to worry about being laid off, right? There's this thing, the owner of a brokerage I used to work at when I was preparing for my financial services brokerage, had all the licenses, the 20 series 26, 6, all the numbers. I can't remember, so many numbers. And he said, when you have a job, every time you walk up to that building, I know now that we don't all go up to a building, but let's just say every time you log in from home, you don't know the conversations that those people have been having about you, i.e., think it's time for us to lay them off. You never want to be in that position without the safety net of having the choice and the option of having your income replaced. These are the types of properties that can do that. Now, I am going to talk about this one. It's a vacant fixer. This is a good idea of like seeing what like Buffalo has. It has some very nice, like there's some stainless glass in these older homes, wood and stuff. This is lots of built-in stuff. Maybe this one isn't the best one, but we could probably refinish these floors. Who does not love some real hardwood floors that are already in there? This property is a duplex, a 2 bedroom and 1 bath. That's what a 4.2 is telling us. 127,000 for a duplex, 14% cash on cash. Oh, about cash on cash. We do nothing in Buffalo or Niagara Falls less than 10% cash on cash return, and people are happy for anything, really anything. But remember, the California crew is getting no cash on cash return, future appreciation. Here, we don't want to do anything under 10, but we will easily see teens, high 20s. This is an unoccupied fixer, and it has $5,000 in net annual cash flow. I'm going to take it though. It's 120 something grand. If I get a fixer loan, I'm going to get somewhere around 80 to 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab costs. And if I want to get, I'm going to call it a long-term loan, a DSCR, look it up if you don't know it. If I get a long-term investment loan, which is basically what that is, I'm going to put down somewhere between 20 and 25%, and I'm still going to see this $5,000. So cash on cash return takes into consideration the debt service, and cap rate is all cash. I'm going to show you guys one more. This is a fabulous 3-unit, fully occupied. Oh, I showed you like all different types. Okay, it's a 3-1 generating. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a 4-bedroom, 1 bedroom. I'm looking at the notes. It's generating almost $18,000 in cash flow, $3,100 in monthly rents already generating. So you pick this up and it's off to the races. You close and there's going to be a check next month, right, of cash flow. Those are the important things that you want to be seeing. I'm going to show you very quickly a property that we just went into contract and just finished the home inspection, the due diligence period, just waived it. This is a single family home in Niagara Falls. Buffalo, Niagara, next door to each other. Niagara has its own resurgence happening. It's much smaller than Buffalo, but if you live in Niagara Falls, you might work in Buffalo, so we get a lot of the same effects there. 75,400 was the acquisition cost. We will assign it for $15,000, and there's about $7,500 in work. Okay, I'm going to show you something. If you're going to be like, Nechelle, that cash on cash return is 2.47%. Don't worry about that. It's not a true cash on cash return because this is structured as a 100% finance deal. So this is a 1,300 single family, 3-1. Okay. So Nechelle, why is it so low? Because in this structure, not only did we get a mortgage, but we also got a private money lender to lend money. Loan term 30 years, only how we amortize the payments so we can have the smallest level of payments. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just you need to do a little more education, but Just take my word for it. It gives you smaller payments the longer your amortization is. Think about your own personal home loan. If you got a 15-year loan, you'd pay it off shorter, but your payments are going to be higher because you have to pay it off in a shorter amount of time. So we do it in 30 years, but we only have our private money lenders hold that note for 1 year or 5 years, anywhere between that. And then we either pay them off. In this case, it's only $33,000. Or we allow them to re-up at 12%. If you had $33,000, what else are you going to get 12% in that just comes? What you want to know is, does this property have enough money in it in order to pay the mortgage and to pay you? And in this case, there's a 10% management. There's also vacancy and reserve for maintenance being held back. So if a toilet needs to be fixed, you're building up a reserve in order to do that. The rent on this property is $1,500 and the taxes are $1,900. Niagara Falls taxes are slightly higher than Buffalo. Oftentimes in Buffalo, you will see under $1,000 in annual taxes. For you, those of you in New York City, California, those sort of areas, Colorado, I mean, there's so many. I mean, these taxes are insane, right? Very small compared to what we are paying 10, 20, $30,000 in annual taxes. So again, one of the reasons why we love this market. I wanted to show you how we sometimes play around with this. If this was a 2-unit, I might need to have pay the electricity in the general areas, which a lot of people think about only after they get a bill. Here, there's no general electricity. The tenant's going to pay the electricity and gas. So now I've just given myself a little bit more money. But would Nechelle buy this property at $100 and make an extra $1,100 a year? Probably not me, right? But this is an extra $1,100 for free, right? I did not put any money. It free in essence, right? It's 100% finance, no money out of pocket. But for the average investor who is purchasing this, they're going to actually put down their $33,000. And for them, they're going to see a 15.7% cash on cash return, and they're going to be bringing an extra $5,000 into their pocket for the acquisition of this single family property that cost them a total of $101,000. And if they had $101,000 and paid all cash, they would be receiving a 10% return on their money. If you have $33,870 sitting in your account, in your bank account, earning like negligible anything, nothing, you could acquire this property, and that 33,000, instead of not earning you anything, could be earning you a 15.7% return. This isn't a maybe, if, and this is an actual investment right then and there. Just very straightforward and simple. And these are the types of numbers that you will see. Ways to invest. I feel like we've jumped on over. I'm hoping you're seeing what I'm seeing. Here is how you're going to get your war chest together. Cash savings, we just talked about them. Sitting in the bank, not doing you much good. Self-directed IRAs. If you have a IRA or you had a 401k and you left the job and it rolled over to an IRA or you created one, there are companies that act as custodians for you to build up your retirement in these self-directed IRAs. And you can both buy property and invest in other properties, do the notes, act as the bank for other investors. Great source of money. 401k loans, HELOCs, life insurance loans, any of the loan crew, credit cards, I love them for short-term investments only. Okay, there will be people who will tell you put it all on your card. And short-term investments, if you need to buy some materials before you get a draw on your fixer loan, use a credit card. If you have short-term investment opportunities, I'm going to go over some examples of how to invest with Influence Living. Those are good to use because you're going to see that money back. Short term, when you know it's coming right back, not long term. I never want you to use a HELOC in order to do a fix and flip and not know if you're actually going to be able to flip it or the market turns on you. I never want to see that. So short-term investments, partnerships with friends and family. We talked about this, whether you're joining a community like Realty 411 or the Grow Collective, or your church investment group, or one you've done with the soccer moms or with your golf buddies, whomever. That is a great way for you guys to get capital together in order to start your own investing. We have a short-term investment, use of funds, earnest money deposits, inspections, all of these things. We have had only once in 20 plus years, one investor back out of a wholesale deal. And it was a daisy chain kind of before we were using the term daisy chains. It was probably 15 or so years ago. They were supposed to buy 3 properties from us in Buffalo, and they did not come to the table. So we paid for all of the properties. And back then it was all cash. It wasn't that much, but it was still all cash. We ended up keeping one and we sold the others. Because, the appetite for this is huge. When you have these type of properties at this price point with this sort of economic growth in the market, it's a no-brainer to find someone who wants to acquire that for their own portfolio. So we will bring in investors and minimum $10,000, a 10% return on their investment. And that is the opportunity for them to have in 90 days. It's really 90 to 120 days, but within that time frame, and they see their money back. And now you can get a taste for a new market. You can get a taste for investing if you're starting out, and you can start increasing the amount of money that is coming into your war chest. This is cash. And these are the same sort of things that you can propose to other people who might have money in your life. A portfolio investment. We acquire a lot of properties and we bring in investors. They invest a minimum of $50,000 for 3 to 5 years. And depending on the tier they come in at, they have a return up to 12% every year. I have had them block out this investment timeline. When you start doing investments, always make sure you are running a line with the laws and regulations, and we can't publicly advertise things, right? So not going to talk about specifics, but I am giving you examples of how investors invest with us. And there's nothing specific. It's just a general thing. This is not an offer of a securities. I must have all of those disclosures. It is just for you to understand the different ways that you can invest with us, but you can also create investment opportunities for yourself. If you want to acquire a bunch of properties and you're like, I think I got enough golf buddies to make this happen. They've got to have some money laying around. You can also formulate things like this with the right lawyer, of course, in order to reach those goals and get those rewards that we talked about in your own investments. And then your personal property acquisition. It is extremely, extremely important that you plan not to just fix and flip, not to just whatever market you're in, not to just wholesale, but to acquire your own properties. That is the biggest lesson Tony and I learned the first time around when we started in Buffalo. We'd gotten so addicted to the 20,000 here, the 10,000 here. Ooh, it was so good. And then we did not buy enough properties to keep our own. And remember, real estate's cyclical. It's not, is it going to go down? It's a when, right? And we saw the when happen in 2007 when the market crashed, 2008 when the recession hit, and everybody who was buying properties from us were no longer buying properties because people were very uncertain about what the future held in terms of their jobs and their security. And we had had a very lovely lifestyle, and we had not purchased enough properties that would give us the cash flow to support our lifestyle. Therefore, it is extremely important, no matter what you do, part of your whole situation, your whole strategy has to include buying properties for cash flow. You must have them. In Buffalo, when you're building your legacy, that generational wealth, the options for you to leave your job if you want to, average out of pocket is 30,000. I just showed you one that was 33,000. It can be 75,000. That's the average all your costs that you're going to have, and you're not going to see anything on a cash on cash return, at least in those markets, under 10%. Single families, 2 to 4 units, 5+ units. If you're getting started out, the price point is so low, I advise that market. If you are an experienced investor, but you're investing for your first time out of your comfort zone, for those reasons, again, the price point is just so right and the returns are so solid. Another option. This is about finding your perfect path to investment. I suggest whether it's our short-term investments or someone else's, start with a short-term investment. It's a no-brainer. We make ours a low barrier to entry so that you have the opportunity to see success quickly and you can start building up your war chest from a cash perspective. If you want to get into someone's portfolio investment, and everyone uses something different, an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, a syndication, there's a gazillion different things for you to use. Any one of those sort of things is a great way to have long-term strong returns with less involvement. You don't have to get the mortgage. You don't have to talk to the contractors or the property managers. That's a good path to take. For building your portfolio, it's just a necessity. You'll get your own mortgages, right? You'll be the person receiving the statements. But when you have a team in place, and if you're investing in Buffalo or Niagara Falls, you have the opportunity to have that with our team, and you get access to our full team, the contractors, the lawyers, the appraisers, the home inspectors, insurance agents. We do property management in-house. That's what we call the inbox money. You just sit back and you check your inbox to see that you get some money sent to you every month. It's still a little more active in the sense that you get your own mortgage, but it's still as hands-off as we want to make it so that you can build that up and focus on the next deal. If you act now, you're going to get one complimentary hour session, strategy session with yours truly. That's me. You just take a little picture of that. I made sure that I saved it here so that I could pop it in. Here we go. Here is a link to my Calendly. You can have a one-on-one strategy session with me, but act now. Because I don't know how long I'm gonna do it for, but I'm gonna do it as long as, if you're watching the replay 3 months from now, there might not be any sessions. So take action now, so that you can explore whether it's investing in Buffalo, getting started on your 30-day plan, putting together your own investment group, team, all of that stuff. We can talk about privately where your current situation is, explore what your why is, and get